In 1977, a small factory in Colvin, Leicester got to work on something that would change the lives of countless people. Little did they realise that people were still caring enough 40 years later to sit and listen to a guy waffle on about that product. This is the Blue Harvest Star Wars Toy Podcast. He was a bit enthusiastic, wasn't he? I'll do my utmost to keep that level of enthusiasm up for the whole episode, as I welcome you to episode 1 of Blue Harvest Star Wars Toy Podcast. I am Darth Mark, and today's show is going to be a bit of a discussion on the state of collecting and my views on some of the auctions out there. I will also be giving you the latest news on modern and some of the upcoming San Diego Comic Con exclusives. And it should all tie in nicely, he hopes. So first off today, I'm going to talk about the BBC article that came out a couple of weeks ago now. And instead of me stumbling and bumbling over reading this, I'm running in a new droid. So I'm going to let her read this to you now.
Star Wars has won millions of fans since it first hit movie screens 4 decades ago. Following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, a whole new generation has fallen in love with the fictional universe. Predictably, interest in the world of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo and Princess Leia went into hyperspace following 2015's The Force Awakens, leading to a scramble for toys, old and new. However, 4 years later, ahead of the release of Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, there are signs this could be changing. On Thursday, 40 Star Wars figures from the early 1980s, still in their original packaging, will be auctioned at Hansons, in Derbyshire, the latest test of the value of the vintage toys. So, how popular are new Star Wars products and are the original figures holding their value? Why do people collect Star Wars toys? Mark Daniels was 5 years old when he saw the original film and he soon began collecting the toys. By his early teens he had sold most of them, but his interest was reignited when he started art college. I bought a couple of loose figures for 50p each from a flea market, he said. From there I was able to pick up entire childhood collections at car boot sales for £10 or less, as during the early 90s Star Wars was largely forgotten and very few people were bothered about it. Our generation that grew up with these toys have the nostalgic connection with some of these items, younger generations not so much. What are collectors after? Included in the Derbyshire sale is a yak face figure which is highly sought after because of its obscurity and has an estimate of between £700 and £1,000. A 1980 Boba Fett toy, still attached to its original card, has already reached about £600 in advance bids from an estimate of £300, auctioneers Hansons said. It is predicted about £10,000 could be made in total from the sale of the 90 toys. Many of the figures are being sold by former employees of Leicestershire-based Palitoy, which manufactured them for the UK market. Some were also made by US firm Kenner, as well as companies in Europe and Hong Kong. Mr. Daniels collects Star Wars items from British licensees like Palitoy, Cliro, Helix and HC Ford. He has since made a career as a Star Wars illustrator. The great thing about Star Wars, and collecting it, is there is something for everyone whatever your budget, he said. Some items will always have a huge following and garner huge price tags, such as props and rarer toys and merchandise. However, the more run-of-the-mill product will ultimately plateau in value at some point. Are collectors still paying big money? In April, a prototype model of the Return of the Jedi character Bib Fortuna, its estimate was £12,000. It had beaten all expectations, according to Vectis Auctions on Teesside. Prototypes of a new op called Logray fetched £12,000, and an Emperor's Royal Guard went for £28,800. Back in 2013, a vinyl cloaked Jawa figure sold for £10,200, and it is believed there could be 5 more left in the world. What's more, it's thought many valuable Star Wars toys, bought for as little as 99p, are still out there, unopened and forgotten about in cupboards or attics. The Derbyshire sale, which also includes a number of Han Solo and Princess Leia figures, is expected to spark worldwide interest, according to Hansons. However, Matt Fox, curator of the said while vintage Star Wars toys have enjoyed a meteoric rise in value since 2014, prices for some have started to level off. After a flood of new collectors these last 3 or 4 years, we have returned to a steady trickle and this has led to some stabilization of the rising prices, he said. Prices will continue to rise for high-end and rare items, but I suspect that the regular loose figure market will remain quite stable now. He said the reason was that new collectors will have now built up their loose figure runs, about 100 models from the vintage era, meaning the rush to buy has quietened down. Is toy value related to the movies? But fans were bitterly divided with some even calling for Disney too. Mr. Fox does not believe that the quality of the latest films really affects vintage toy prices. Star Wars is a franchise that has constantly delighted and upset fans in equal measure, he said. Naturally some will tell you today that The Last Jedi is the worst thing to ever happen. Personally I find something to love in all of them, and I'm even getting a bit nostalgic for the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace this year. Do collectors buy the new toys? Ahead of the opening of The Force Awakens in 2015, Disney's first quarter earnings jumped on the strength of Star Wars. However, in early 2018 and in February this year, the firm reported a decrease in revenue from products based on the franchise, with Bloomberg suggesting that movies with toy tie-ins are no longer working. In the US, it is believed to be because children's movie attendance has dropped in the face of competition from YouTube, Netflix and social media. The Brick Fanatics, a website dedicated to Lego, agrees it is partly due to a change of habits, along with dull designs. There are lots of Star Wars toys available at clearance prices at the moment, said editor Graham Hancock. While that is good for consumers in the short term, in the long term it has the potential to make retailers and manufacturers think twice about Star Wars toys. Is the Force still strong? Mr. Hancock, who is also a Star Wars fan, said much will depend on the quality of merchandise for the latest installments The Rise of Skywalker and new TV series The Mandalorian later in the year. But though uncertainty surrounds the sellability of new Star Wars toys, Lego's range has proved to be the exception. They make high-quality construction toys, with a mix of characters, settings and vehicles, said Mr. Hancock. Other manufacturers should do the same, focus on the classic products that always appeal to children, like affordable action figures, lightsabers and blasters. Mark Daniels agrees, adding that new products largely have no secondary value. However, he said the global pop culture phenomenon will always have a strong following and loyal fan base. I think it's safe to say it's here to stay, he said. These are exciting times to be a Star Wars fan, that's for sure.
So there you go there, that's a very interesting article. If that voice puts you off, or the the lack of emotion, shall we say, or the pronunciations put you off, just let me know. I'll read these articles out. Might take me a bit longer. I will put a bit more emotion into these, and the pronunciations will be kind of like Jawa, final cloaked. What was it, Jawa? So I can carry on with it. It's totally up to you, listeners. I'd like feedback on that. But the article itself is very interesting. I do think they were thinking about more modern stuff. It was mentioned that the vintage will never change, which is true. It has got more popular since The Force Awakens, since Star Wars was reinvented, shall we say. The prices have gone up since The Force Awakens was announced. So we can't get away from that fact, unfortunately. Have they linked to the movies? I don't think so. I think the modern stuff is just Hasbro crap, shall we say. And something they've also always said is kids these days, as they said in the article, they have other things on their mind. They're not playing with toys as such. Younger kids probably will be, but the older kids are playing on the consoles. They said Netflix, I don't think that makes any difference. But it does take away from playing time. I would have thought. The thing with society today is everybody wants everything now. Back in the day, we used to watch Doctor Who, and the stories used to be 4-6 episodes, and you had to wait a week for the next episode. Yeah, they're more exciting now. You've got one story per week, and the arc goes over the series. Things like Stranger Things that's coming out next week. You're going to be able to watch those in one day. It doesn't detract from the quality of the programme. Like, I've just finished watching Jessica Jones, and I love that programme on Netflix. But back in the day, we'd have had to wait each week. Say, like, I used to watch Miami Vice, and it was just like an event. We look forward to every Tuesday night. The BBC always changed the times and days and things like that, which was a problem. But we lived with it. We had no video. Well, we had video recorders later on, but we had no computers. We had nothing. If you missed it, you missed it, and that was it. But back to Star Wars figures, it was imagination. You didn't have Star Wars on DVD, VHS until years later. So we just played with these figures, and we made the stories up with these figures. I remember making probably the same story up every time I played, with my X-Wing Luke, and battling Darth Vader at the end, and that was it. And maybe Boba Fett. You made you made the stories up. Kids these days don't have to make the stories up. Yeah, they're probably making the stories up when they're playing, but the lack of imagination worries me quite a bit. Anyway, I watched this auction. I actually bid on something, which I'll talk about later, and I'll give you my thoughts. So this is the actual aftermath of that auction.
A TIE Bomber authentic Imperial spacecraft starred at the auction on the 20th of June. It had lain untouched in a loft for nearly 40 years after a man who worked in the Palitoy factory brought it home. The classic decast and plastic Empire Strikes Back spaceship was still sealed in its Kenner packaging. The 77-year-old Leicestershire owner of the TIE Bomber, from Colville said, "I was a clerical worker at Palitoy for 12 years from 1983 to 1995 and, from time to time, surplus stock was sold to staff. My son used to like Star Wars and I often bought toys home for him. For some reason, this one was never opened, and I found it in the loft. If I bought it in 1983, it's been there for 36 years. Its good condition helped it shake its pound symbol 300 estimate before being knocked down for £2,100. It was unbelievable," said Hansons toy value Steve Falford. No need to find his lack of faith disturbing, however, as he added, "We had high hopes for the auction because the popularity of Star Wars is huge worldwide, but these results have taken us into another galaxy." Other top sellers included a return of the Jedi Greedo figure made in Hong Kong, which sold for £1,000 from an estimate of £80 to £100. An Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett figure made £2,300 over an estimate of £300 to £500.
So there you go. I do believe the auctioneers underestimated the power of the Force, and I doubt they'll be doing that again. I do believe they'll be pushing forward to be getting more Star Wars items and maybe competing with Vectis, because if anybody can compete with Vectis on the Star Wars front, on the vintage toy front, it is Hansons. I was very impressed by their auction. Did it online. You could see the auctioneer, and the items were very clearly put up, listed, and descriptions on them, and the price at the time. I've heard that Vectis. I've not actually seen this in myself, but I've heard on the Vintage Rebellion they're going about some of the bids have been missed, and that leads to frustration on the buyer but the seller as well. If he wants more money for it, if there's more, obviously he gets more money if there's more bids. So yeah, that's frustrating. In that way, they really could do with sorting that out. I believe they have. I watched their auction this week, and they did have the the little video, which wasn't very good. I did watch it on my phone as opposed to me iMac. The feed was behind the auction for some unknown reason, and I was going to actually bid on the Harrison Ford autograph. I think it went for about £85, something like that. It might have been a bit less, but I would have bid on that. But as I said, the feed was way behind the actual auction, unfortunately. I'm not one to knock Vectis. I love Vectis. They are very good at what they do. But I think they need to pull the socks up, and I think the lack of competition might be something to do with that. And if Hansons do want to go down that route, it will be good for the collectors and indeed the sellers as a whole. I actually sent Charles Hanson an email to his personal email, and he asked for my phone number, and he actually phoned me the other day, which was very good. It was unbelievable, actually. It just sounded like him as on TV. If you don't know who Charles Hanson is, he's off Bargain Hunt and Antiques Road Trip, all the antiques programmes on the BBC. And I've always been a fan of his. I always watch the antiques programmes. I like the Antiques Road Trip, I think, a bit more than Bargain Hunt. It's more... I wouldn't say it's realistic because some of the prices they get them down to. I think it's a bit of advertising as well. They're getting the prices because they're advertising on the TV. But that's by the by. They're really good. I wish they would do a toy version of it. I did email the BBC and on Twitter and everywhere like that to see if they could do a toy version. Maybe if I mentioned to Charles Hanson about it, that something might be done about that. That'd be pretty cool. If it might be like a kids version, but just a collector's version, I would have thought, because how many antiques programs do they have? They're flogging their dead horse sometimes, and I think that's one avenue that they should go down. I actually talked to Jordan Hembrough, the toy hunter, about this, about making a program, because I think it was trying to make a program over in the UK as his toy hunter programs got cancelled. I'm not sure what he's doing at the moment. I know he was on the feed for the Star Wars celebration, but I know he's got his shop in New Jersey, but I don't see him on TV as much. He might be in some things, and he might be in America where we don't see him, but he's brilliant at his job. And it's something like that over in the UK, Toy Hunter UK, Bargain Hunt, Toy Hunt, I don't know, Toy Hunter UK, I don't know. Maybe you can come up with an idea for that, what that should be called. I think it'd be a good idea. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. All the ways you can contact me will be in the show notes, as well as a Patreon and TeePublic store. I really want to make this a big community for collectors to find out things, find out what's coming out, find out about collecting really. If you're a new collector, if you're an old collector, I hope there'll be something in these podcasts in the future to help you out. And now it's time for the news.
Even though all of the major E3 2019 announcements have come and gone, there's now a new contender for Best in Show. As the excitement of this year's expo died down, last night Arcade 1UP took the time to unveil its latest 3/4-scale arcade cabinets, including Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and much more. As one of the top names in retro gaming right now, the company's latest releases are some of the most exciting yet. Command an X-Wing in the upcoming Star Wars Arcade 1UP cabinet. Get ready to head to a galaxy far, far away, as some of Atari's original arcade cabinets from the 80s will be coming to your game room. Arcade 1UP surprised fans of the arcade titles by announcing that it would be bringing Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi to its latest 3/4-scale machine. The cabinet most prominently features the iconic X-Wing pilot controller include of a typical arcade joystick. It'll let you take on the Empire in a series of space shooters. As of now, Arcade 1UP is keeping the pricing of its Star Wars under wraps, but with a new film in the franchise coming out at the end of the year, I'd think we'll see a release sometime ahead of the premiere.
So there you go. That is really exciting news. I really wanted one of these. I've also wanted I'd rather have the sit-down Star Wars one. But I think it's the sound effects in that and the voice modulation, the Red 5 standing by and all that. It's the music and everything. But I do like the Return of the Jedi. I didn't play the Empire Strikes Back one as much because I think it's just like a copy of the Star Wars Death Star thing. But you're shooting AT-ATs and going through asteroids, which is not as exciting as blowing the Death Star up. But the Return of the Jedi, it always makes me laugh. The speech in that of 3PO and Lando. But I enjoyed it, so that's something I'm going to look into getting for my place. I think they're retailing about $500. I don't know how much shipping would be on one of those. As you may know, next weekend is the San Diego Comic-Con. Obviously in San Diego. But they always have exclusives, especially Star Wars exclusives. So we know about the Hasbro Boba Fett 40th anniversary. I would love one of those. If anybody's out there that can get me one. The Hallmarks, we know about all those. But here's some of the unusual items that will be on offer. Acme Archives, who produce unusual artwork, have Echo Base Root Beer by Stephen Thomas. This piece is a variant of the latest instalment of the iconic drinks collection. And while it's the 6th licensed Star Wars print in the collection, Thomas has done fake drink ads for many of the other pop culture properties as well. And it's limited to 95, so you'll be lucky there. And each comes hand numbered with a certificate of authenticity. He's also doing something called Shiny Return, which is the Return of the Jedi. And it's green and shiny. It's printed on coloured holofoil, so that'll be interesting. This piece must truly be seen in person to grasp its true beauty. It's again limited to 95, and it comes hand numbered with a certificate of authenticity as well. Those retail at $55 and $65 respectively. Diamond Select are at booth 2607 if you're going. Star Wars Concept Sandtrooper 1/6 scale mini bust at $120, inspired by the concept art of the legendary Ralph McQuarrie. Diamond Select's gorgeous mini bust brings an early version of the Sandtrooper to life. At booth 2913-J is Fifth Son with Dat Boba Tea and Divided Forces Tea, $28 each. These two exclusive teas are Masters of Fifth Son stunners, one with striking image with the famous bounty hunter and the other celebrating the entire saga. On to Funko. I know you people love Funko out there. We're at booth 5841. You'll be able to see them. I'm sure they'll have a massive Funko pop stuck outside it. And this year they've come up with a chrome green Yoda pop, which they are sharing exclusive with Amazon at $15. And again, a green chrome Boba Fett pop. This is shared exclusively with Fye, Fye. I don't know what that is. I will find out. That's $15. I'm sure you'll be able to find those in Forbidden Planet in a few weeks for about £10. On the Hallmarks booth, 2913-T, for those going to the con. A Wild Ride and Endor keepsake ornament at $40, and a Chewbacca bandolier for your itsy bitsies. You know you love your itsy bitsies, which is $18 or $8 with purchase of 3 itsy bitsies. Hallmark comes to San Diego Comic Con with a charming new addition to its fan favourite Star Wars keepsake ornament line, with a walking carpet to prove your sexury for your itsy bitsy collection. On to Hasbro, which will be at booth 3329, another one you won't be able to avoid. In Luke Skywalker's Jedi Destiny 3-pack at $55. Yes, 3 more Lukes for your collection. The aforementioned Kenner-inspired 6-inch Boba Fett, which is retailing at $27, which will be equate to £25 in UK money. Special edition prototype Darth Vader Entertainment Earth exclusive booth 2343 at $12.99. Hasbro is honouring Star Wars icons and action figure history at San Diego Comic Con with incredible retro-inspired exclusives. Don't get me started on that. There's Luke Skywalker Jedi Destiny 3-pack featuring 3 3/4 inch figures based on Luke's appearance in each film in the original trilogy in vintage packaging. A redeco of the 6-inch Black Series Boba Fett in the colour scheme of the classic Kenner toy, and a Kenner-style Darth Vader in bright prototype colours. For Star Wars action figures collectors, these look like must-haves. I wouldn't go that far, but the Boba Fett I do like. The next booth, 2913, is quite interesting as it's Ladro. I didn't know Ladro did Star Wars or anything like that, or I would have a booth at San Diego Comic Con. Born to Rebel, Queen Amidala pre-order. The makers of gorgeous porcelain creations are launching Born to Rebel, a new line of handmade Star Wars sculptures. Fans can pre-order the first sculpture of the series, Queen Amidala, in celebration of Star Wars The Phantom Menace's 20th anniversary at San Diego Comic Con. Yeah, Ladro jumping on the bandwagon. That might be interesting actually. I'll keep an eye on that and keep you updated on that. On to the Mattel booth, 2945. Is the Mouse Droid character car at $10. It's quite surprising I haven't done one of these before, but the adorable Mouse Droid joins Mattel's Hot Wheel character car line, essentials for fan of the Empire and the iconic toy car series. Monogram, which is booth 3645, is a character bag clips at $25. Strap on your jetpacks and zoom over to Monogram's booth for this cool set of honouring the Fett family. Get a prototype Boba Fett, a classic Boba Fett, and a Jango Fett. Nixon are at booth 2913-I. They have a Skywalker Sentry Chrono at $350 and a Skywalker, it says Kinch bag. I don't know what a Kinch bag is. They're $25. Limited to only 150 units, the Skywalker Sentry Chrono watch is filled with the clever details and altogether beautiful design. It's super stealth matte black stainless steel. It features custom dial with the insignias of the weapons of Luke, Darth Vader, and the Death Star. Flip it over and you'll see the custom case back with the father-son portraits etched into it. The Skywalker cinch bag, limited to 500 units, features custom blue and red straps representing Luke and Darth Vader's lightsabers, and other subtle details, making this perfect partner to the Skywalker Sentry Chrono watch. In booth 1122, we have a company called Perfect Shaker, and they are doing a Boba Fett Perfect Shaker for $14.99. Beat the Tatooine heat with the exclusive Star Wars Perfect Shaker featuring a bold, stylized take on Boba Fett. Sales 1 have two booths, that's just greedy, 4437 and 815, and they're doing the Medals of Yavin at $75 and Han Solo and Carbonite pin set at $15. Both TOYNK retail exclusives. Sales 1 Medal of Yavin replica is 24 karat gold, and Han Solo's theme pin set are beautifully designed and sure to appeal to rebels everywhere. 720 are at booth 3749. Skywalker and Mos Eisley pint glasses 2-pack, $10. These handsome and clever pint glasses come courtesy of 720 and feature the logos of two What If Tatooine businesses, Mos Eisley Trading Co. and Skywalker and Son Land Speeder Service and Repair. Very nice for $10. At booth 2913G is Stance. They have a Rebels 2-pack, $40, Empire 2-pack, $40, and a Blueprint 4-pack for $100. Of what you might be asking? Socks. Stan celebrates the saga with 3 different exclusives. The Blueprint 4-pack comes with all socks included in the Rebels and Empire sets, featuring the Millennium Falcon, X-Wing TIE Fighter, and the Lambda Class T-4A shuttle, as well as 2 exclusive blueprints printed in vellum paper, showcasing the Millennium Falcon and TIE Fighter, and limited to 50 pieces. And finally, we have Trends International, which are at booth 2314/D. The Star Wars decals and posters. Prices vary. If you need to add some Star Wars decor to your life, these are the exclusives you're looking for. Trends International will offer posters ranging from the Battle of Hoth to Star Wars The Phantom Menace, vinyl decals, and more. So that's your Star Wars exclusives at San Diego Comic Con. And that's all starting next week. That'll just about do it for today's podcast. I'm going to be putting out at least once a week, maybe a couple of times. I'm going to get back to doing daily ones once I get established. It's all up to you listeners, really. If you want to listen to me waffle on about Star Wars, then let me know. Like and subscribe in the usual places. On the whichever podcatcher you're listening to, iTunes, Spotify, any of them. I don't know which ones I'm actually on at the moment. I'm on quite a few. If you just want to drop me a line on the email, it's blueharvesttoys@gmail.com. It's also in the show notes. All these links will be in the show notes. But I'm also on YouTube, Blue Harvest Vintage. TeePublic, you want to buy a t-shirt, one of my designs, or this podcast design, it's Mark 85, MARCAIR 85. Again, that'll be in the show notes. And if you really want to help me, I have now got a Patreon, Blue Harvest, if you want to check that out. Again, that'll be in the show notes. And I will speak to you all next time. Thanks for listening, and may the toys be with you.